this session will be all about asynchronous programming using JavaScript. So far, you have seen the style of programming we have been doing. Let's say you have a function called main. That's the start. When you start your program, that's the first function that gets executed. And within this function, let's say you call another function called add. Let's say you call a function called add, and you give it two numbers, like 5 and 8. So what will happen when you call that function? So you have the main running, and then within the main you have an add function.
Okay.
What will happen when that function is called? It blocks. The main idea is that the main will block and wait for the add to finish. Yes? Okay. Now, let me show you this in concrete way, what I mean. Let me just block in. Let me run this. If I run something super fast, there is no problem. So let's say here I have two buttons. Okay, one is doing very quick job, console.log, or adding some content to the page. And the computation done by this button, the function behind this button is very simple. There is no problem whatsoever. But if there is if there is some kind of a button where when I click it, I do a long running task, what will happen to the user interface when I click this one? See here, I can't do anything. It blocks.
Because the main is blocked.
The main is blocked. Very good. Thank you very much. So basically, the main UI thread is blocked, waiting for the event handler behind this button to finish. And you don't want your users to end up in this situation. So you want to keep your application what? Responsive.
Can work while function is blocked.
No, we get in there slowly. I want to get to the concept slowly. Okay. Anyway, like even it's fine. I want to wait. So what I want to say here, in JavaScript, in general, you don't want to block your users and keep them waiting. For long-running tasks, you should not run them in the same thread as the UI thread. So one style of programming you are used to is this style of function. When I call a function, the main function will block until the called function is finished. And this style of programming, what do we call this style of programming? Synchronous programming. It's a sequence of steps. Every step, the caller has to wait until the function being called finish execution. What is the key problem with this style of programming?
Well, if something takes a while,
yes.
Like 10 minutes, your page is completely done.
Yeah, so you basically block it. And this can happen both on the server side and on the client side. Okay. Adding to this, there is a very important, by design, the JavaScript engine, when it is running, the UI thread, there is only one thread. You cannot have multiple threads. By design, JavaScript is a single threaded, which makes this one worse. In JavaScript, there is no way you can directly create a thread, not like Java and C++. This is by design. We can discuss this kind of theoretical aspect at a later stage. Now, I just want you to get the main concept, and you will go and practice it in the lab. Inshallah, next session, I can do quick review just to fill up any understanding gaps. But for now, you understand this concept of synchronous programming, one step at a time. And when I arrive to a certain step, I give it the chance to complete fully before I move to the next step. The only problem with this is it could be long running and it could block the user interface. Okay, so let me show you another small example to introduce. We need from real life. Let me give you another example from real life, just for you to understand the concept of synchronous versus the concept of asynchronous. Okay, I'm sure you have seen such crazy lines on the media when Apple releases a new phone. Yeah?
Not as bad as before.
Yes, but still, like, anyway. So in here, these people are basically blocking. They can't do anything. They are staying there for hours in this lane because they choose to do the purchase synchronously, which means they go to a line, they wait, they do nothing else until they achieve their goal of getting this phone. This, you can think of it as a synchronous action, where you are waiting for certain action to finish. Now, what's another alternative to this, to get your phone or to purchase your phone? What's another alternative? Very good. You order it online, and then when you order it online, what should you do?
Wait for the delivery man to get your phone.
Very good. So what you give them when you order online, you give them your address, okay? And then you move on with your life, you do other things. And then at later stage in the future, what will happen? You will receive your phone on the address that you gave them earlier. So this scenario is basically a synchronous scenario, and the other one is an asynchronous one. So you get the difference. In synchronous, what is the key word in synchronous programming? That you block. The caller will block and wait for the action to happen. In the asynchronous, there is no blocking. I ask for some action to take place. Do I block and wait for it?
Can do
No.
other stuff.
Yes, very good. I can move on and do other stuff. I don't wait for it. When it's ready, I will get notified and it will be handed over to me. Okay? So, and you can do this for many other scenarios in life. So your car has a problem, and you have two scenarios to get it fixed. Okay, you take it to the mechanic. One way is to do what?
Wait in line.
Wait there until it's finished and you take your car, but you miss your classes, you miss other things, other more fun things in life. Blocking just there in the sun. What's another better way of doing it?
Just wait there in the mechanic and don't have the car.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like basically there, you give the car. What else you give to the mechanic beside the car? Your address or your phone number, yes? And they will, when the car is ready, they will call you. So you don't need to block. So the first scenario when you are waiting, that is basically you are doing the fixing your car in a synchronous way. You are blocking until it is fixed and you take it. The other way, you are doing it asynchronously. You give the chance to the mechanic to fix it, and when they are ready, what they will do? No, I want another word.
Call back.
Very good. They will call you back. Yes? They will call you back. Yes? That is the idea. All right, so let me now show you this. You understand the concept of synchronous versus asynchronous. In asynchronous, one way to do asynchronous is to do what? Is to provide a callback address, and then the service provider, whoever is doing you a service, will call you back when the results are ready. So one mechanism to achieve asynchronous programming is a callback. So we will understand one way of basically in JavaScript there are three ways we can do asynchronous programming. One is called callback, the other one is promise, and the third one is async and await. All of these are kind of a progression, an evolution. This is quite hard to do once you get so many nested calls, one function calling another and another calling another. When you have a long nested calls, this becomes very messy. So they made it better by providing another abstraction, another mechanism called promises, and then they make it even better using async and await. But as a JavaScript developer, you have to understand all of the three. But for the new projects, you will focus on the third one, but you have to understand all because you will encounter all of them in real life, in a real programming scenarios. Okay, so let's start with a callback. So first, let me show you one thing. All right. By the way, you remember packages which are like pre-built libraries that has functions and classes that we can make use of. One of the libraries that come with Node.js, you don't need to download it using npm. It's already there. No, Express, you have to download it from npm. One of the libraries that comes with Node.js, pre-installed, it's called FS. What we can do with this library?
Isn't it the one that reads the file?
Yes, this one is for reading and writing files, deleting files, any file system manipulation. File system access gives you in this FS. Okay, have a look at this. I want to read a file. Here is the file I want to read, students file. You can see here, this is a JSON file. I want to read it. So if I want to read it, which library I will be using? FS. So one of the functions this library has is .read file. So one of the functions is read file. What does it take as an input?
File.
The path where the file is. Okay? Does it look reasonable? This is the way I will call it. I will do fs read and give it the path. It should give me the content of the file. Yes? Reasonable? Okay, so let's give it a try. Run. Sorry.
That's how we communicate with the server.
No, there's no server here. You need to be careful. No, there's nothing to, it's a file on my system. We haven't reached any server. It's a local file. It's a local file. There's no service here, nothing. It's just a file that I want to read using JavaScript, Node.js. Okay, so here is the, here's the code to do this, not this one. Okay, I forget about this.
Duplicate.
No, it doesn't matter. Did I achieve what I want to achieve?
We don't know.
This is the content of the file. Yes, this is the content of the file. And I did, to read this file, I did fs.read file and I give it the path. What I was expecting to have? The content of the file. So let me try to do console.log content. I run it. It says undefined. I didn't get any content. So what's going on here?
Wrong path.
No, path is correct. Data here. Oh, have a look. Data student.json. Yes, please.
Because you have constant, the content type is...
No, don't let this confuse you. Any other guess? Why this is not working? The path is correct. The file is there.
has to be reading in
Sorry?
has to be reading in another field.
Very good. So basically, in JavaScript, any reading from file system, communicating through the network, any of these potentially long-running actions, you cannot run them synchronously. You cannot call the function and block and wait for it. Okay, by design, that's why asynchronous programming is so important in JavaScript, because you want to do simple action as simple as reading a file, and you cannot do it synchronously. What do I mean here by doing it synchronously? What does that mean?
By doing it the old way, as in blocking.
Very good. So here, we are coming with our old style of programming. I call a function, I block and wait for it to get the results. I am trying that all the way. Is it giving me what I want to achieve? There's a problem here. The old style of synchronous is not working. So read file is not a synchronous function. I cannot call it and wait for it. Now, how I should call, what is the proper way of calling read file? Yes, tell me. Very good. Same thing, you lift your car with that mechanic. You have two options, wait for it and waste your time, or what should you do? Give first, before you wait for callback, don't just leave the car and leave this poor mechanic stuck with that car, not knowing what to do with it. What you should do before you leave?
Give your address, your details, your phone number.
Give your phone number, give something. When the car is ready, what the mechanic will do? It will call you back to come and get your car, or if you give the address, and they will send one of their guys to deliver the car to you, for example. Okay. So in here, I call a read file. What should I give it when I call this read file? Because a read file is not synchronous function.
Give it the address or someone to call you back.
Very good. Here, does this read file has an Uridu number? I can, or should we give our number here? I'll call the function and give my phone number here. It doesn't make sense, yeah? It will not help. So in this context, what do you think a callback will be? Tell me.
Maybe ask the second.
Sorry?
True or false?
No. When you go to the mechanic, you say, call me back on true or false.
Maybe a specific statement when it runs, it should.
Think about it.
Another file,
Another file?
an empty file, a created file.
This is a much easier way. Yes, this is a good idea. Yes, I can give it a file. Say, when you finish, put the contents in that file. But I will have to keep looking in that file. Did my results are there? Are my results there?
You can put the constant log there.
All right, there is much easier way of doing it. What's this other way of doing it? I call a function and give it another function as an input. Okay, so what I will do here, I will say, oh, by the way, when you finish, please call me back. And then I can give a function here. I can hear function. I call it callback. You can call it whatever. Equals, basically, any callback has two issues. It could be either the error or some data I will get back. Okay, so if there is an error, why this guy is not, anyway. So if there is an error, I will just do here console.log the error. Else, if there is no error, I will get what I asked for in which variable? Data variable. Console.log. Okay. Sorry, I want to just quickly create a new file. Here is callback. I just want to put all my stuff there because this file for some reason is you following so far? So when I call an asynchronous function, I give it the input and also I give it a callback function. So what the read file will do, it will read the file. When it's finished, what it will do, it will call this function. It will pass two parameters. If there is something goes wrong here, what can go wrong here? What's such as?
File is not there.
Very good. File is not there. Then I will get an error. If the file is there and everything is fine, you have access to it, you have permission to read it, then this error will be null or undefined, and the data, you will have the data of content of the file. So let's try it. And surprisingly, this is some funny things. This is, I need to parse it to JSON. JSON.parse. And I get the content of the file. This is fundamental concepts in JavaScript. Most of the functions that are reading from files or communicating through the network are all asynchronous functions, which means you cannot call them and wait for them. You have to call them and provide a callback address. A callback function. So this callback function, this is the design, this is how JavaScript people create a callback function. Callback function has two parameters, error and data. Error, you will get, let's say I put here a number, which this file does not exist. So if I run, I'll get an error, no such file or directory. So why do you think we put error first, or this is the pattern JavaScript developers do? They put error first, then the data. Why do you think so?
I want to check the error, if there's an error first. Because
very good.
The error is not just that the file is not there, maybe there's something else that is corrupted or something.
Okay.
So I want to see the error first.
Okay, very good. Very good. It's basically for you not to forget. If they put error last, you might ignore it. But what I mean, if the pattern they use error here, you might say, okay, I don't care about the error. I will focus on the data. So to force you to consider errors, they always put the error first and then the data second. Okay? So if there is anything wrong, so I'll undo this. If something goes wrong, you will get something in this variable. If everything goes okay, you will get data in the other variable. Is this clear? This is basically the concept of a callback. Now, no JavaScript developer will do this style, okay? Because JavaScript developer, they are not scared of passing functions to another function. So this is how most people will do it.
Like this, inside it?
Yes.
Inside the brackets?
Inside the brackets, yes. So don't be scared. This you will do all the time. Sorry? No, it's not. So basically, this is, if you do it the other way, you will be called a baby JavaScript developer. This is the professional way of doing it. Okay? The professional way of doing it, you just pass in an anonymous function, and you define the callback within the call. You call, and you define what should happen in the callback as a parameter to the call. This is very common. No professional JavaScript developer is scared of this style. Is clear the concept of callbacks? Okay. Now that's one way of doing callback. That's one way of doing asynchronous programming. Another way of doing asynchronous programming, it's called a promise. Promise. Another way of doing it. What is a promise in general? What is a promise? In general, in the real life, in English.
I promise you to do a specific thing. You take my word for something.
Very good. And usually it's something that will happen in the past, present, or future. In the future, usually. So if you get an A in this course, I'll take you for an ice cream or for coffee. This is something future promise. It might happen, it might not happen. Okay? So another way of looking at asynchronous programming is that a function, let's say a function, when you call a particular function, instead of returning you the data, what does it return you? No, why error? You call a function, instead of returning you the data, now it will return you a promise.
Oh, it will return a promise?
It will return you a promise.
How does it look like a promise in JavaScript?
Very good. We get in there. I want you to first understand the concept, then I will show you. Yes? Okay. So now this library, the FS library, yes, the FS library, it's an old library that comes with JavaScript, and it's still using the old asynchronous programming style, which is based on callbacks. There is a more advanced file system library that uses a more elegant way of using asynchronous programming using promises. I cannot use this library with promises because it does not support. Promises is a new concept that came in Java 2015. Okay, so to do this, let me show you. Let me just copy this and comment this one. Here it is. Let me comment this.
Just Sona, control and then the dash. It will comment.
Control and dash. Okay, no problem. I will once I train myself.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so what I will do here, I'll paste this. So instead of using this FS, I will use something called FS Extra. This one is available on Node.js. So you have to do npm install FS Extra. This is a library that other people have developed. What's the difference between FS and FS Extra? The FS library uses callbacks, and the FS Extra uses promises. Very good. Now, have a look at this. Have a look at this. Much more elegant way of doing it. So, come on. Now, when I call this function, I don't need to pass in a promise. What I will pass, tell me what I will, I don't pass any promise. I just pass the parameters as if it is a synchronous call. Remember synchronous call? I call and wait for the results. But in here, what do you think content will be? When I call get read file, what will be in content? Content is a variable, but what will be the content of this content? The content of this result. What will be the content of this result after I call?
Promise.
Very good. So the read file is not giving me immediately the data that I asked for, but what it is giving me?
Promise.
A promise. Now, what I do on this promise? What I do with this promise? Tell me.
Do we call it? It's like a function.
No, it is not a function. What I will do with the promise is two things. So a promise, it could be either fulfilled or it could be rejected. In real life, it could be either fulfilled or it could, some exception will happen and then it will not be fulfilled. So what I'll do with the promise has, it's kind of an object. It has two major methods. It has one method called then. If everything is fine, I will get my data and I can do whatever with it. In here, I will just do console.log, json.parse, and I parse the data. If something goes wrong, I will explain this shortly. I will have a catch. Let me just run it first, that we make sure it's working, and then I'll explain. Okay, I'll get all my data. So let me explain now. Okay. So we know that a read file, is an asynchronous function. I cannot call it and wait for the results. So because it is asynchronous programming, there are two styles I can deal with it. I can either call it and give it a callback function, and when the read file is finished, it will call my callback. That's one way of doing it. Second way of doing it is using a promise. When I call a read file, what do I get at my hand? A promise. Now, in this promise, I kind of listen to two kind of events that might happen in the future. If everything goes fine, this then function will be called, and I will get the data. If something goes wrong, the catch function will be called, and I will get the error. So let's try here. If I change this file, say number 2. Yes, are you following?
Yes.
Okay, here it is. If I run this guy, I get the error. Which function was called in this case, the then or the catch? The catch. Okay, So can somebody, based on this explanation, can please somebody explain what is the promise?
The promise is
Yes,
like,
I will come to it. Yes, please.
when the file
No, I want you to define what is a promise in general, first of all.
not in the programming.
No, like mix it. Because these programmers that came up with these ideas, they are not from another planet.
Okay,
They are with us and they get this concept from real life and try to adapt it to this programming.
so the function is giving me a promise.
Very good.
It will give me the data of that file, for example, when it's done, but on a certain time or with a certain condition.
In the future.
In the future.
Okay. So when I call an asynchronous function, I will get back a promise. Now, on this promise, I register two functions. One to handle the happy day.
I remember the bad day for it.
Yes. Now, the happy day function is,
Data read.
no, what do we call it? Then. Yes. So when I get a promise, what you can do with the promise, you register two functions. One is then to handle the happy day that you get what you want. And one is to handle the bad day where you don't get what you asked for some reason. Is the concept clear? So what is a promise? Ghanim, please, can you please explain it to us I want you to explain it in very concise way.
Promise is basically a way for you to create, because we don't have the ability to create a thread.
Okay.
What we are doing is basically, here is a promise.
Okay.
Where we promise this specific function, we will give you the data. This function will now wait until it's done while this is being done. And this will not block the main.
Yes.
So that everything works.
Yes.
Once it's done, the information will be sent back to this file.
Very good.
And whatever the file is going to do with it is going to do with it.
Okay, I will explain it in kind of more precise way. Yes, Ali.
But you will always get a promise if you do let result is equal fs read file. Even if the path was not correct, you will get a promise, right?
Very good. Yes. A promise. Look, a promise is a future value. A promise is a future value. So how do I get my future value? I have to register two functions. One with the then, if everything went fine, and another function is the catch if there is an error. Okay. So have a look. Let us try to do console.log. Console.log results. Are you following? Is it kind of a bit clear? You have to play with this for it to be very clear. Okay, you see here when I say console.log of the results, what is it? What is the result? Read here. It's a promise. What's the status? It's pending. Still not fulfilled yet. Now, when it is fulfilled, it will do two. No, have a look at this. Have a look at this first. Which one will be executed first? This one or this one?
What? Again, sorry.
You see here I have this console log, json.parse, and I have this console log I called fsread. Which one will be executed first?
The promise, then the console log.
No, this one will be called first.
No.
Although it comes after. Have a look. Be careful. Have a look. Which one was displayed first? The results of the call or the I called fsread first?
No, fsread, because the way it works, this is how it works. You give it data, it gives you a promise.
Yeah.
That's it. This function did its job. It's gonna now continue on to the next.
Very good.
Once the data comes back,
Yeah.
it will continue working,
That's-
whether or not you have an error.
That's excellent. Okay, so you see here, have a look. Because this one is a future value, this one will be shown first. Have a look, it's shown first. I call the fsread. Then the data will come later. Although in the writing, you would think that this one will be last. Have a look. This one is not the last one that gets executed. Which one gets executed first, this one or this one?
I think that one, the log.
The last one, yes? Because you see it here. I get this one displayed, then in the future, I got this one. Yeah? So, and this is a proof that this one is an asynchronous call. It will be fulfilled in the future. Is this clear so far?
Sir, I want one clarification. Right now, my understanding of this is it's still running within one
thread. No. This one is running another thread. I will explain the techniques behind it later. Now I want you to understand this mechanically, see the concept in a rough way, and see an example. I want you to go and practice it in the lab. When you come back next time, we will cover it in more depth. But for now, just take it in a lightweight way. Just understand the concept first, apply it, and then we come back and we see the inner working, how it is working internally. Is so far clear? Callback and promises? Yes, please.
Can you elaborate more on why the consoles first?
Okay. This one. Okay, so you see here this result. What is this result? It's a promise. What is a promise in general? Not in programming context. Very good. So when will this promise will be fulfilled? In the future. But so later. So for example, if this one is on the internet, coming from US or India, it might take some time. So this will go first. You will see this immediately, because this one will be fulfilled later. So that's why you see, because this one is synchronous, it will come immediately. Console.log is not an asynchronous function, it is a synchronous function. But a read file is an asynchronous function because it will happen in the future. The results will come back in the future. Yes?
So that depends on the speed of...
No, not dependent on speed. This is a very good question. No. All input and output functions that read and write from disk or read and write from the network are asynchronous by definition. Yes? Because when you read from disk, it is long running compared to what you do in CPU or compare displaying or something. Like reading or writing to the file is a long running operation. It could take time, especially even worse when you are reading or writing from the network. It can even take longer. So you don't want to block your users and say, oh, please wait, I am reading something or I am getting something from the internet. No, you let them do whatever they wish to do, and you do this reading, long-running reading in the background. When the data arrives, you display it. You never block the users. So that's why JavaScript by design is what? Is asynchronous for any operation that involves input and output from disk or from the network. Is clear? Okay, so let me show you one more thing. Let me show you very quickly. Maybe now I'll take a small example here. I think this should not scare you now. Let me just explain it super quickly. Have a look. So here I have a function. What does it take as an input? Student ID. I go and read the file. Now, because this is asynchronous, two things could happen. It could be that everything goes okay, or something will go wrong. Okay? Let me see. Yes. This one is not handling the something goes wrong. If I handle it, I have to put here .catch. But I'm just hoping everything will go okay. So I'm just providing the then function. Okay? Now, in here, what I'm doing, I give you the IDs, like let's say CMPS 151, CMPS 152. You go to this another file called course, and then you find me what is the name of the course and the details about the course. Okay? So here I'm reading the student's file, and here I'm reading the courses file. Now have a look. Have a quick look here. In the the students, the courses are numbers, meaningless. You don't know what's 107. So where is this? The details of 107? In the course. Very good. In the course. Is there course here? 107 is general engineering. It is fall. The instructor is 12. Now, instructor is 12. It doesn't mean anything. Who is the instructor 12?
Another file called
Which was staff. Okay. 12. Who is this lucky 12? 12 is faculty 1, and type is faculty. Okay. So for me to give you the full information about the students and their courses and the instructor, how many files do I have to read? 3 files. Okay. I have to read student, then I read the course, then I read the staff, and put all together in one document and give it back to you. Okay. So have a look at this. So I have 3 functions. One, it reads the student. One, it reads the courses. And one, it reads the instructor. The difficulty is all these functions, these 3 functions, are they synchronous or asynchronous functions? All of them are asynchronous functions. By the way, if a function calls another asynchronous function, the function itself becomes asynchronous. Okay? So let me show you. So here it becomes very intuitive when you are chaining, like composing, taking multiple functions and kind of stitching them together. So what I do here, I get the student. When I finish getting the students, then I will get the courses. When I get the courses, then I will get the instructors. And then at the end, I will have the full details about the student. So let me just run it and just explain it a bit more. You see here, when I see the student, have a look. In the course, instead of just having this student the courses like this, I will get for each course what is the full name of the course and also who is the instructor. Instead of just having 12, I'm also having the full details of the instructor. All of this, like I'm getting the student details from one file, the courses details in another file, and the instructor details in a third file. Okay? So the 3 steps, each step is in its own function. So I have get students in one function, the get courses in another function, yes, and the get instructor in a third function. So when I execute them, I have to, because all of these are asynchronous. First, I'll get the students, then when it's fulfilled, when this promise is fulfilled, I will get the courses. When this promise is fulfilled, I will get the instructor. Okay, and each time, basically, I am adding these data that I get, extra data that I get, I am adding it to the student object. And at the end, what I do with the student object, I will return it. Okay, so this is one way of like composing or chaining or connecting asynchronous function. This is one way of doing it. A more elegant way of doing it, let me just show you this. Okay, have a look at this. This is the third and final way. This is the third and final way of doing asynchronous function, the latest way. This has been became available in 2017. Most of the browsers are picking up on this. Node.js has already picked up from version 7 and above a new way of doing asynchronous programming. But luckily, this time, the code looks like synchronous. Have a look. So if I call an asynchronous function, all I need to do, I'll add this keyword in front of it called await.
And async.
Yes, but before I do this, I have to put this in a function, and in front of the function, I add this keyword async. So I am telling myself and others, oh, be careful, this is an asynchronous function. How do I tell them this is an asynchronous function?
By the async.
By doing this async in front of it. Okay? Now, once I do that, inside it, now once I mark the function as asynchronous, I am allowed now to use a wait. If I don't use this keyword here,
You get an error.
yes, you get an error. Say you cannot use a wait in a function that is not marked as async. So that's why this method is called async await. You have to mark the function as asynchronous, and then whenever you do an asynchronous call, you put in front of it a wait, and then what will happen is these get countries will be kind of suspended, but it will not block the user, not block the user interface. It will be suspended, and then when the data come back, it will be resumed. So kind of suspend and resume rather than block. All right, all right, and the way you call it, because in here, in this get countries, let me see. Yes, the way I call this one, I can call it using the like a kind of a promise. Have a look at this. An asynchronous function always returns a promise because this one is marked as async. The results, the countries, is not really an actual result. It is a future result. So when I call an asynchronous function, I should use then and catch. Then if everything goes fine, I will get my data. If something goes wrong, I will get an error.